the problems within the NPP during the primaries, for example. And do we have somebody on the line?
Yes, Thomas Nsoeje is going to join us from Kumasi. Thomas.
Yes, madam.
We know that Ashanti region is considered one of the backbones of the NPP. What can you tell us about scenes happening there now that the party has been declared victorious?
Yes, exactly as you have put it, this is the stronghold of the ruling NPP, and when the announcement was put into court, the declaration, the whole place was very quiet. People were waiting for the results. So we planted ourselves at some strategic areas in the metropolis, waiting for the announcement. And lo and behold, when the results was announced, when the declaration was announced, and we were at the Kumasi Sports Stadium, area, the whole place was thrown into jubilation, and you cannot even describe it. Well, I've even sent the pictures to Accra. When we wanted even to interview some of them, they were not even prepared to talk, apart from one person who had a chance of talking to us. They were so much overwhelmed by the victory, and then they were expecting it has happened. So the man who spoke to us said he was expecting this to happen, but fortunately it has happened. Then we went to the party headquarters at Tafo, where they placed all the roads leading to the party headquarters, where the roads were blocked with traffic, jubilating all over the place. So we managed to get in the office of the regional office, where we spoke to the regional secretary, Sampai, who was overwhelmed, and he was even lots of words describing how happy he was at the time we talked to him. According to him, he was expecting it, but the margin of victory, even though not so huge, he is so much overwhelmed with that victory, and was commending everybody who played a part in ensuring that NPP retains power. But he made mention of the electoral commission, the party supporters who stood very, very well solidly behind the party when saying the election took place last Monday, and were waiting patiently for the result to come. And now the time for the jubilation was on. So they were so happy and expecting that people will moderate the jubilation so that by tomorrow we don't see any obituary on any of the walls indicating that somebody has become a victim of the jubilation. So Kumasi, everywhere, in fact, when we went into the office, we were finding it very difficult to get to the office. But at long last, we managed to get to the office and file this report. So Kumasi is all over the place, people are jubilating.
Is our Ashanti regional correspondent. He's been telling us about happenings in that region, considered the stronghold of the NPP, which has just been announced as victorious in the presidential election, and we are seeing scenes of jubilant NPP faithful hitting streets of various parts of the country, celebrating the victory of the party and the candidate Nana Akufo-Addo, who goes into a second term next month. We've also heard reports from the Volta region where our correspondent tells us that in many of the NDC main strongholds, many of those people have retired for the night and the streets are filled with supporters of the NPP. We spoke to our other correspondent in Accra, Dom Kwabenya, specifically, where Haga also told us that some dangerous driving practices taking place on the streets there, but all in celebration of the NPP's victory announced to us tonight, Abdul.
Yes, and we'll be just before our colleagues from Kumasi came on the line, we were trying to look at the impact of the appointees who chose to, also run for Parliament, and how that may have affected the performance of the party at the parliamentary level. And then I was talking about the fact that where you consider the two deputy chiefs of staff, Mr. Asenso, as well as Abu Jinapo. They contested. Both of them have won. Jinapo won in Damango. Mr. Asenso won in the Ashanti region. In Bantama, thank you. And then you also consider Al-Hassan Tampuli, the boss of the NPA, who contested in Gushegu, who won. Then you may want to consider, again, we just spoke about Mr. Peter Amewu, who was also Minister for Energy, and one. So you're looking at
Mr. Ochubefi
of the Free Zones, yes,
and as well,
and Mustafa Yusuf of the National Service Secretariat. So there is that perception that when you are an appointee, you tend to have some financial muscles, and because of those financial muscles, you're able to bully, so to speak, your way through to win. But then the other effect is that after you win, if you still remain an appointee, how to balance the roles. Exactly, and we've seen it happen in Ewutu Senya West, where and I'm looking at both NDC and MPP. Madam Howard Hannah Tete was an MP at the same time she was a minister. That community constituency rejected her. The button, what's the man's name? Georganda became deputy minister for communications. Perhaps didn't have much time to attend to the needs of the people there. He has also been rejected. And you just brought in Tema East. Tema East indeed has been very, very unpredictable.
Really? Yeah.
Tema East didn't surprise me. You remember in 2016, Daniel Titus Glover won by just three votes. Just 1, 2, 3 votes. That was the difference. Did he do much to consolidate that victory? I don't think he did.
What was surprising about it was on Friday they had a rally and the attendance was massive. And so for him to lose, that's the surprise for everyone. So like you are saying, the representation and the presence in the constituency is key.
Attendance at rallies
may not translate into
and I think in Kabo's case also, the arrest of the his main contender, the candidate of the NDC weeks before the election, kind of will attract some sympathy votes because he was accused of being behind that arrest, although he has come out to disassociate himself with
quite apart from that, Sani, especially in respect of that Laura constituency, historically, and I'm sure we have somebody else on the line.
Ayama, Bolga correspondent, Upper East region. Samuel, thanks for joining us. Do you have a similar story like what we've heard from the other regional capitals happening in Bolgatanga? Okay, so we are just seeing now some pictures being shown to us, still seeing jubilant scenes, and we are seeing similar scenes at all major towns across the country. NPP supporters hitting the streets in Jubilation, NDC supporters largely calling it an early night, and we see similar scenes across all the regions. We're trying to establish contact with our Upper East regional correspondent, who also coordinated part of the Northeast region for our coverage of election 2020 today, so that he can share some of those stories with us.
Even as we wait for Samit to come online, remember that
he is on now. Samuel, thank you for joining us. It's been a long road, and finally we see the end in sight. What's happening around you now?
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Winifred. Here is Bogatanga. Here, this base, we call it Atlantic base. This on the Bogatanga Tamale Highway. You can see the jubilation all over here. And then we have some of the NPP supporters who are ready to open there with us. They are taking on the declaration of President Akufo-Addo as the president-elect. Albert, tell me your name, and then you are live on GTV. Tell me how you feel about this declaration. I'm not telling you about opening. I'm so happy that we've had a peaceful election and we ended well. And not getting more happy. And we are so happy that it has gone the way. Okay, thank you very much. I also have a sister here to also share with us. How do you feel about this of the NPP? And how do you feel about this election? Okay, thank you very much. I also have a sister here who also like to also tell that. How do you feel about this election? I also have a brother in there popularly known as Nelson. Tell us, how do you feel about this victory of the president? Okay, so share with us. How are you celebrating? Very excited, you know. I'm how do you feel about this? The jubilation ongoing, across the whole street in Bogota. When you move down the various stages, you realize that the NCP, they are seriously in jubilation of what has happened. They are very happy about the whole situation, and we will continue to monitor the whole region. We are told the same celebration is going on in Boku when you move.
The call has been put on hold. Please.
Yes, such things happen in live productions. Abdul, if you look at the crowd, because of you're familiar with Bogota and the terrain,
yes.
Are these normal crowds to expect on a night of victory for the NPP, especially in a pandemic?
Exactly. My initial thoughts when the videos came in, I was about to make a remark concerning the fact that even as we speak, not wearing the face mask in public spaces is still a crime. You know, it is a crime.
It is.
And that law has not been repealed yet. And so, yes, and so many of these people who are celebrating without the nose masks are putting not just themselves at risk, but their families, and by extension, all the rest of us here, even in Accra, are at risk. And people may have every right to celebrate, but they do not have any right to put the rest of us at risk. That's number one. Number two is also the fact that all these persons we're seeing here have every right to celebrate, but they do not have any right to break the law with impunity. And this is not to suggest that nobody should celebrate, but we're just saying do so in moderation, and do so bearing in mind that we are still in an era where there is a pandemic that we do not know yet how and where to start dealing with it from. Do remember that just immediately following the U.S. elections, where they also had, it wasn't exactly a demonstration, celebration, but some form of demonstrations. You recall that following the heels of that, there was a surge, and indeed, in one day, more than 2,000 people died in the U.S. after the U.S. elections. Let's not think that coronavirus has become a thing of the past.
And even with the campaign season at the time, the disregard was also very great.
Right. Desmond Kujo is joining us from Takoradi in the Western region. Desmond. Hello, Desmond. Do you have anything to report to us about the scenes you're seeing around the city tonight?
Yes, what's happening in other regional capitals and towns, there's the same thing happening in Sunyani Takrady. In all Sunyani Takrady, the metropolis has 5 constituencies. And the FPP won all those 5 constituencies. So as soon as the results were officially declared by the chairman of the EC, people started trooping to the streets, vehicles to see their horns, people also marching up at the of the candidate passport, all to celebrate the victory of the NPP and Nana Akufo-Addo. Some were also going to the party offices. There are not many. You also have people moving, not organized though, but you see a few groups of people moving onto the street, singing white party t-shirts and others. So that is the scene that we have in the streets of Sunyani Takrady, especially Kumasi and the Takrady Market Circle.
Right. Desmond, do you also see a blatant disregard for COVID protocols at the scenes from Sunyani Takrady, as we've seen in places like Bolga and the Volta region?
Yes, all those are met on the streets of the market circle, the swimming team and those being around it, they go speak through the videos. None of them, at all, if they are wearing with masks, but the rest do not. Not much. You see that the person is out. People are moving, having a voting day across some of the centers. So social protocols, we call it COVID-19 prevention protocols, have been totally disregarded so far as the citizens are concerned.
Desmond, have you seen any NDC supporters around, and what are they doing at this hour?
Can you come again, please?
Have you seen any NDC supporters, or have you come across any persons who are sympathetic towards the NDC, and how are they reacting to the news?
Sincerely speaking, I've not come across anybody NDC t-shirt or hat maybe for I would say this is an NDC person who's also in the street, disregard what's happening by their party laws, and they're in the street jubilation. All those who are openly celebrating are those in FPP t-shirts.
Right, Desmond, thank you for those details. And Abdul, I find it quite interesting when we say, the NPP won and NDC lost. I mean, if you garner over 6 million votes, obviously you were not in first place, but fair to say second place at the very least. Okay. But some people would like to see it in terms of a win and a loss for the two parties. In Ghanaian politics, you either win or lose.
It's a binary situation all the time. It's either black or white. There are no gray areas, and that is why there are a group of people who are beginning to call for an end to this phenomenon of winner takes all, and then come up with a new idea where as many people as possible who may not even share your ideologies would be brought on board depending on their expertise and other factors, so as to be able to have their divergent views even when governance is ongoing, so that people do not feel left out. It is the tendency for people to feel left out of the sharing of that proverbial national cake that sometimes leads to despondency, to some people being sad and so on, even when they lose elections.
Abdul, if I can bring your attention to the scenes on our screen right now, look at the number of persons who appear to be underage minors, they are called, joining in such celebrations, and we have a pandemic going on.
And these are scenes from Takrady as well, and Morris, Gloria, and Sani, of course, Rebecca as well, and Winifred. You all bear witness that if we hadn't stated that these were pictures that were coming from Takrady, you would still have thought that they were the Bolga videos that you were watching, because the behavior is the same. And so it means that throughout the country, and we're looking at the extreme ends, Bolga to the extreme end in the north, and then Takrady to the extreme end in the south, the behavior is the same, disregard for all the basic COVID-19 protocols. And Winifred has been interested in the COVID-19 protocols.
Yes,
I'm sure she must be very worried at this point.
Experts call it pandemic fatigue, when people refuse to wear the face masks and obey the protocols. I mean, they've done it for so long, they feel that they're tired. So why do we still need to put on this? It was interesting, when we were at the International Conference Center, there was one particular guy who was in charge of going around and reminding everyone, no matter who you are, to put on your face mask. And he will come to you and say, Master, put on the face mask, even when you are outside. And so we have to remind each other and prompt each other that we need to still wear them, because we are still not done with COVID. It's still around.
Right. The laxity in observation of the protocols has been ongoing for some time, and we still need to remind each other that the pandemic is still with us, and so we must be cautious. And it was also encouraging to know that some of the polling stations we visited, our reporters reported that there were people who were actually stationed there as COVID ambassadors, who were ensuring that people go according to what they are supposed to do. And so,
but if you comply to the rules on voting day, and then 48 hours later you gather in crowds like this, like you've been warned against for months and months on end, then really it negates the whole process of all the protocols.
We saw these scenes during the campaign time, and the call is that let us all come back again. And
so all of us constantly keep wearing the mask. Our guests who appear on the show keep wearing the mask. So we expect that that's what the practice should be elsewhere. But obviously, when it comes to party time, it's fun time, and it's hard to keep a finger on those measures. And
but tell me, if you sit
in
public transport, you'll be surprised the number of people in the bus. You can have a whole bus that's full and have only 2 people
or one
wearing the mask. So it will take a lot, and I think that we are going to see an increase in new cases.
So Abdul, guess what? We are in Sunyani now. The pictures look just as they did in we've traveled to another major city. This is Sunyani. It looks just like the scenes we saw from Takrady as well.
That's right, the Takrady scenes, the Bogatanga scenes, and the Sunyani scenes, very similar scenes. And we're just reminding all those who are excited that the MPP came out as winners of this election, that even the president for whom they are excited, the president they are celebrating for his victory, has advised them to be decorous even as they celebrate.
John Sam Arthur is joining us in the capital of that region. John, good evening. Thanks for staying with us. We are seeing the scenes from Sunyani right now. What more can you tell us?
Yes, thank you very much. It's unbelievable. You know, traditionally, Sunyani is an MPP town. Since 1992, they have religiously been voting for the NPP. And this time around, you will agree with me that the election was tight. It was tension tight. All the 2 major parties were, saying that they have won. And so, what I'm seeing now looks like a lot of people were, the NPP supporters were scared, wondering what was going to happen, when we were going to lose power and all that. But after the declaration of the results and confirming that the president had got the opportunity to serve Ghanaians for a second term, it looks like the happiness has, overflowed. It's exploding. And it was like a long procession from all parts of Sunyani towards this area, which is just in front of the constituency office on the main Sunyani Kumasi highway. So this is causing a lot of headache for motorists because traffic is building, because the crowd keeps growing. And so far I've not seen police or police MCCD people around to either divert the traffic or try and control the crowd, opening the roads up for the vehicles. So the motorists are having a hell of a time making their way through this crowd that keeps building up. So I'm suspecting that this party is going to keep going for some hours to come. If anything that has gone on in the past is, if events in the past is anything to go by, then this party is not going to end now. And I am just hoping that the police will come around and inject some discipline into the way things develop. But thankfully, the thickness of the crowd has put a stop to motorcyclists and other cyclists who wanted to use this period to display their riding skills. Thankfully, the thickness of the crowd has put speed to that. At the beginning of this celebration, motorcyclists were riding around recklessly, a bit dangerous fashion, and I'm just happy that the thickness of the crowd has caused that to stop. So for now, it's just about the celebration, jumping about, singing and dancing and all that. Actually, all those reckless riding has stopped, and it's now just dancing and partying.
In the heart of Sunyani, where NPP supporters have thronged the streets to celebrate the victory of the President Nana Akufo-Addo.
I'll go for a break. Call for it.
We are just witnessing scenes from Sunyani and similar scenes across major towns and cities in all parts of the country, and every town is telling us that supporters of the NPP have hit the streets to celebrate the victory of President Akufo-Addo, who gets his second term from next month. And right now we'll go over to our correspondent Shirley Annan, who joins us from the Dansoman area. Shirley, you've monitored the events so far. What's happening where you are?
Hello, Salma. Good evening. There's World Jubilation in Dansoman, and that's in the Abikuma West constituency. There's vehicular traffic. The road is blocked. It's now one way. The LPP supporters are rejoicing. And I must say, I've observed that there's no one in nose mask, or they are not practicing any social distancing. Everyone is chanting and dancing to NPP songs, or even that of the opposition. I must say, it's a long night in Dansoman. It's going to be a long night of jubilation in Dansoman.
So Dansoman is Esla
Owusu, yes, Ablikuma West constituency.
And so for them, I presume it's a double victory, having retained their sitting NP and then getting a second term for the president, right?
Of course. It's a double victory for supporters of the NPP in Ablikuma West constituency.
Shirley, I don't think you will have a peaceful sleep tonight if the scenes we are witnessing on the screen.
Fortunately for me, I live a bit far from where there is much jubilation, so I think I'm going to get some form of sleep, but not a full night's sleep anyway.
Thank you, Shirley, and we will speak to you again when we have the... Shirley Annan is a GVC reporter and news anchor, and she wants a piece of this action, and she's just taking a bite of this cake. A very big bite indeed it was. And so similar scenes, like I said, we are seeing. Winifred, I saw you shaking your head when you saw all those numbers of people not wearing masks and not obviously not practicing social distancing. So we are seeing similar scenes across the country, and we will try and get us through as many of them as possible in the coming days, even after we analyze. We look back on today and election day and try to see what lessons we can learn from election 2020.
And this is GBC's coverage of election 2020. And Thelma, you just spoke to
Shirley Annan, who spoke to us from Dansoman in the constituency of the Minister for Communications, Madame Ursula Usu-Ekufo. And the scenes are not much different. We are seeing the same thing replicated across major towns and cities in the country. Our producers are telling me that we are trying to establish some contact with Chebi, which we know is the home of Nana Akufo-Addo, and it will be interesting to see what the situation there is like. I doubt it will be any different from what we've seen so far, but we started touting this weeks and weeks ago. The race to the Jubilee House, it looks like tonight it all comes to an end.
Abdul, I was saying that I can't wait to see President Akufo-Addo make his
Ministerial
appointments, ministerial appointments, appointment of Pastaval, appointment to the various public service institutions. Would Asensubuachi and Abujinapo continue to be the deputy
chiefs of staff? That certainly cannot be the case.
We're going to see.
How do you say that
cannot be the case?
Maintaining the status quo. The ministers that he has. Are we going to see some new introductions here and there?
Well, could Joe Pong still be Minister for Information?
I can't wait to see.
And interesting questions, Morris, you've posed there, especially also because a lot of Ghanaians, and I'm happy when we heard the campaign manager for Nana Akufo speakers, they will learn from their mistakes. A lot of Ghanaians expressed dissatisfaction with the number of ministers Nana Akufo appointed, especially under this dispensation. And if that is anything to go by, you can deduce that that could have also led to the loss of some votes.
But it was a decision Nana Akufo defended, that with the kind of agenda that he had and the kind of work that he had ahead of him, he felt that he needed that many number of people to help him to realize that vision.
I recall greatly that he said at the time that he was in a hurry, and that's why he appointed that number of ministers. But then again, is he still that much in a hurry when he is sworn in during the on the 7th of January 2021? Because the assertion that he was in a hurry was based on the fact that he said a lot of rots, so to speak, had gone on under the former administration.
And then the economy had deteriorated.
That was yes. And so if he says he was in a hurry because of the deterioration of the economy, the CD and so on and so forth, if much has changed, then he may not need so many ministers to work with.
Right, so we're going to the home region of President Akufo-Addo, Chebi to be precise. Our correspondent Michael Amate is standing by with details. Michael, we've seen scenes from some towns and cities across the country. Would you say same is happening in Chebi right now?
Well, thank you so much. Well, it was all from the time that Chebi, the hometown of the president-elect Nana Akufo-Addo. People in the streets jubilating, marrying, thanking God that Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo has been retained again to move the country or to lead the country in the next 4 years. In fact, if you look at the street, the forecourt of the palace of the KB, of the KB chief, the whole place is close to human capacity, where people are jubilating, marrying, thanking God for retaining their son Nana Akufo-Addo to lead the country for the next 4 years. Well, I'll took the opportunity to talk to the former assembly member of KB electoral area, and according to him, he said though the president was elected, that the parliamentarians that lost their seat, so he's serving as according to the leaders of the party to make sure that any time that somebody wants to contest, they should allow the person to do that, because he said he has identified those things as one of the reasons why some of the parliamentarians lose their seat. Hello.
It's voting pattern, and I'm sure that they look forward to some form of reward for their loyalty, some would say. What were some of the expectations of the people going into the polls, which they will now be expectant of, now that they've managed to put enough votes into Nana Akufo-Addo to get him back into the Jubilee House?
According to them, they are saying that if you look at the Chase Township or the Eastern region, the president has done enough for them. That is why they vote massively for him to continue his good work done. For the next 4 years, according to them, they are expecting Nana Akufo-Addo to do more, to move the region forward and for the country forward. They are expecting him to expand the PSHS policy for more people to be enrolled so that the literacy rate will come down in the country. And they are expecting a lot. For the next year going, they are expecting him to also employ the youth so that they also get a job to do for us to move the economy forward.
Thank you, Michael, for sharing those details with us. We are still seeing the pictures that have come through to us here from Chebi, which is the home region of President Akufo-Addo. Abdul, before we took on Michael, we were talking to Maurice about some of the things we should expect in the coming days in the president's cabinet.
No, I'm saying that if we have to take the words of the campaign manager as anything to go by, then I believe that one of the things that the MPP under an Akufo-Addo-led government from 2021 will seek to correct is the huge numbers of ministers that he has appointed. I'm sure that he would want to reduce that number because a lot of people refer to the economic difficulty in the country at the moment and attribute it sometimes to the fact that there are too many ministers who draw salaries from the consolidated fund, whose cars are fuel from the consolidated fund, whose houseboys and other services are provided for from the consolidated fund, all contributing to depleting the funds that we complain are already not there. Remember that almost 70% of the internally generated funds of the country are used to pay remunerations of public sector workers and so on. And so you remember President Mahama at a point when he was president even described the economy as one that has been left to be down to the bones, and so that's what it is.
And Abdul, I beg to differ on that because this is a man who has always said he is in a hurry, and looking at how things are going, we are foreseeing that it's going to be a very difficult task ahead, especially in the legislature, and so he would want to maintain certain key people who will be working at a very faster pace so that he can achieve his vision. He's been one person who has always wanted the North to serve his country, and you could see from everything that he does that, look, he wants to prove a point. He wants to say that I can do it. So reducing the ministers around this time, especially when you see the numbers at Parliament, well, I don't foresee that. But let's see what happens at the end of the day.
But I'm sure that you may also want to reduce the number of scandals that you record as a government, and the more ministers and appointees you have, the more likely it is that you record scandals. Right. And as you record scandals, you become less popular, and people perceive your government to be a corrupt government. And so, I mean, all these are dynamics that we will begin to see when eventually he settles in for a second term.
We'll say Gloria will be leaving us very shortly, and then we will all come back here and wrap this up very nicely. I just want to say, before we even take this quick break, before we come back to wrap that, we could not have done this without the Kofi Annan team, and we owe them a debt of gratitude. I think that they've made our coverage that much better because the app delivered on its promise. And so we'll say bye to Gloria, who joined us, covered the Electoral Commission headquarters, covered the conference center for us as well. Gloria, thank you so much. and we'll be right back in a few seconds to wrap this all up, and then we'll take it home.